Today we're making duck confit, a French classic that is now associated with fine dining. But like many of these fine dining dishes, the origin of the dish was more of a peasant dish for the sake of preserving duck without a refrigerator. It's a very simple dish. The duck legs are cured with salt and then cooked in its own fat. Once that's cooled down, it can be kept at room temperature for months. So today we'll mostly follow the recipe, and first we cure the duck legs. I've seen many recipes recommending adding herb to the marination process. I hope they did it for the camera, because think about it. If I were to put a piece of thyme like this on my skin is not going to taste like thyme. But one way to really extract the taste and essential oil from the herb is by cooking them with the salt, which is exactly what we're going to do now. So very simple. We heat up the pot and we add the salt. With the thyme, simply run our fingers down. It's an extra step, but it really makes a difference to the surface of the duck. I mean, taste molecules of the herbs. They're not small enough to really penetrate the flesh, but the skin will pick up a lot of this thyme and sage goodness. For the sage, make it easier, we slice them. They also go in. This is a technique they use in Chinese cooking near the Shanghai region, once again, in the olden days, to preserve duck. Of course, they were adding 5 spices and other flavors, but the principle works. Immediately, the heat from the salt has drawn out the essential oil of the herb. The whole room smells like thyme and sage. Controversial and definitely not authentic. Anything with duck, I like to add at least a tiny bit of star anise, so we're adding 1. I'm showing restraint. Brilliant. Once you see the thyme is starting to become dry, that's when you know they've imparted all the essential oils to the salt, and that's when you know we're ready. So stove off, and we give this time to cool down, because remember, we're not going to cook the duck right away. All right, once the salt has cooled down fully, we can marinate our duck legs. I mean, for the purpose of demonstration, we're using 2 legs, but this is a recipe that really benefits from batch cooking, and they keep very well in the fridge. Now, one thing I like to do to make presentation later easier is to cut around the knuckle so that the skin will be released much easier in a cleaner manner when it cooks. Optional, of course, because the skin will shrink anyway. You might as well guide it to shrink in a beautiful manner. It's done. So now add a layer of salt. Duck leg here. Duck leg here. And we add the rest. Brilliant. Now, traditionally, this will then be marinated for days. But in a culinary sense, because we're no longer doing it for the sake of preservation, we only want the salt to firm up the flesh, to draw out the excess moisture, to concentrate the flavors. Because of the slow cooking, we don't even need the salt to break down the protein fibers. The slow cooking in fat will do that for us. So for me, I always like to season it extremely generously with salt and leave it for an hour, maximum 90 minutes, no more. That gives you the best texture for the duck and retains more flavors. So now this simply stays at room temperature for about an hour. I'll see you then. Alright, after an hour, as you can see from the changing of the color of the salt, you know the salt has drawn out some moisture from the legs. And judging from this incision, it has also tightened the flesh a bit. So now we're ready to go. But first, you want to dust off the excess salt. Alright, this one's good to go. Brilliant. Keep the star anise. Now, we have a huge list of controversial subjects to address. First, starting with the fat. In the olden days, duck fat did not cost the same amount as the leg. For me, it's definitely not worth it, but more importantly, what it adds to the cooking process comes mostly from the searing stage, because the surface has a layer of duck fat. That's why it added so much flavor. The actual confit stage, it adds very little. A sous vide enthusiast would tell you, you can basically cook the whole thing in the bag, add a layer of duck fat, and achieve the same result. Whichever reason you choose from my list, the conclusion is, please don't waste your money buying duck fat, goose fat. Use vegetable oil. It's cheap, it doesn't add any flavor, and once we render the duck fat, we actually get some duck fat infused vegetable oil, which you could use later to roast potatoes. So, vegetable oil in. Needless to say, this is not authentic. Nothing on this channel is. And for me, authenticity is neither a positive nor negative term in the culinary world. If you're a historian or you're studying anthropology, yes, it's paramount. But what we're solving for is something that tastes good, right? So, for this dish, stacking efficiency actually matters. So choose a pot that optimizes for stacking, so you could use the least amount of oil. And to reinforce the flavors, we introduce during the salting process, we add a bit of thyme, a bit of sage. It might look like I'm not submerging it fully, but I'm factoring in a tiny bit of shrinkage once the protein fiber gets the heat. Now, this is going to be another controversial subject. A lot of recipes calls for this to be cooked in the oven at a gentler heat. But we've explained in a previous video why I disagree with the approach. Because when the heat is too low to evaporate liquid, what ends up happening, you have a pool of duck liquid at the bottom of the pan. And whichever parts that's unlucky enough to be soaked in that liquid instead of surrounded by the oil would not get the same caramelization when you sear the duck. And this dish is really forgiving. There's really no need for a very, very low cooking temperature. So we're gonna simmer this low heat on the stove without the lid for 2 hours. I'll see you then. After 2 hours and a bit of time to cool down, we have these beauties. Now, they've taken on slightly more color than you would from a traditional recipe because we're solving for water evaporation. You'll see during the searing process that it's definitely worth it. Now, this can go into the fridge easily for a couple of months, but of course, we're gonna cook them today. So, oven tray, tin foil, and we very carefully remove them from the oil. As you can see, because of the incision we made, the skin shrunk in a very beautiful manner, and we'll remove this after the browning. Now, once again, traditionally, you cook this on the stove. But for me, because of the uneven shape of the skin, you'll never get the even browning you desire. And of course, browning is the fat and the protein reacting to heat, the Maillard reaction, and that's what's gonna make this dish taste meaty. Now, another optional step that I really like is to remove the thigh bone. By this point, because of how tender the duck has become, all you need to do is to very gently twist it in one direction and you pull. Now, they go into a preheated oven at around 220 until they're fully caramelized. If you're cooking it from the fridge, probably closer to 10 minutes. If you're cooking it while it's still warm, closer to 5. But don't walk away, mutter it until it has the perfect color. After about 5 minutes, let's do this. It's gonna smoke a bit because duck fat actually has a low smoke point. Look at that. Browning is incredible. And this is so crispy. And you can tell how crispy this is. Wow. Now, as promised, this bit can come out very easily now. This goes incredibly well with potatoes, but today, just a bit of watercress for freshness and brightness. Take a duck. And there you have it. This is duck leg confit. I really hope you enjoy.